Hey everybody, what is up? I've got another Fortnite video for you today. When I reviewed the game, I covered as much of it as I could, kind of broad strokes. I gave you some positives, gave you some negatives, but mainly talked about whether or not the game is pay to win. I don't believe it is. However, there are more issues with the game. And somebody on Reddit made a brilliant post on 10 or so things that really could be improved about this game. And I kind of wanted to make a video consensus taking what he put down in terms of the ideas listed from both him and the community, but also adding some of my own as well. So here are the top 10 things Fortnite's community wants changed. Number 1. Remove the energy cost from abilities, as they have a cooldown which is balancing enough. This is a great idea in my opinion, because everything you do costs energy. Sprinting, using your hero's particular abilities, it's too much. You only have so much energy and so much energy regeneration. It only regens when you're not using it. So if you're using your energy to get to the battle, by the time you actually get there, you're not going to have any to use your abilities, which I feel is a complete waste. Combat and exploration in that way needs to either have separate resources or just not have any resources at all in terms of one or the other. Having both not have resources in terms of sprinting or abilities, that might be a little bit too much, because then at what point are you going to actually use energy for? But yeah, I could definitely see abilities not requiring energy. That would be fair in my eyes. Number 2. If you didn't know already, the Outlander's abilities require him to use these special resources that you can only find in the world, and they are of limited quantity. The Outlander's abilities are Teddy and Shock Tower. If you've ever seen the dual machine gun wielding robotic Teddies, or the Shock Tower that does a lot of great AoE damage, you know that you have to hit these particular nodes, like the ones on screen, in order to actually use them. Compared to all of the other heroes and classes who have their own abilities that aren't tied to particular resources found while exploring, the Outlander's abilities should be the same way, just maybe on a longer cooldown because of how powerful they are, so maybe like a minute or something. That said, the robotic llama that you beat on for resources, those can still be find only. Number 3. Unlimited sprint outside of being in combat. Now this may be a little harder to implement, because I don't know if the game has programmed in it the ability to differentiate between being in combat and not being in combat. However, I do notice that the music changes when you are in combat, so maybe that technology is there. But I do agree that if you are exploring, that sprinting needs to not take energy. It should be unlimited, because getting around the map only to have to stop and wait for your energy to slowly recharge is really annoying and really drags down the experience. Change number 4. Make it so that the ninja class takes either 0 fall damage, or at least at the base amount, 50% less. Compared to some of the passive perks that the other classes get, a 10% fall damage reduction, which is what they get now, the ninja class seems really weak, really kind of pointless. Especially when you're jumping from a high enough point to where the damage numbers are so high for fall damage that it almost doesn't even matter. Say you take 1,000 points in fall damage, the 10%, ooh, 900, woo, such a great ability. But if it was 50% starting off, then that would be a lot better, because then instead of 1,000 it would only be 500. And personally, after upgrading one of my ninjas, I have noticed that the fall damage is pretty reasonable at 50%. But even at 100%, once, say, it's fully upgraded, would be really great and would definitely play to the strengths of that hero and that class. Number 5. Make it so that when you are creating ammo for yourself and using your resources to do so, that it gives you a lot more ammo than it is right now. Because the resources that you use a lot for ammo is predominantly wood, and you can burn through hundreds of wood just to get yourself from, say, 500 ammo to 1,000. That's not great, especially when you need those resources in order to create some decent bases and fortify your bases, especially later on when the difficulty kicks up. Number 6. Give us the ability to delete our own creations that we craft. And I'm not talking about weapons or anything, I'm talking about buildings. Because, say, if you build too many ramps or too many floors on accident, you have to take your own pickaxe to it, and it takes longer than normal to break it down compared to a wall of a similar kind. And I feel that that's kind of ridiculous. You should be able to go into your edit mode and just outright delete it. Bonus points if we get some of our resources back too. Number 7. While daily quests are fun and can get you logging in every day, there should also be some kind of weekly quest that gives us maybe 250 or more or less depending on balance and depending on the quest itself. Something that we can tackle that would take around a week long to do and not just a day. And adding on to that idea, the daily and weekly quests don't have to be just straight up V coins to pump into the RNG machine either. They can also additionally be even schematics for rare, epic, or even legendary equipment, or heroes, or survivors, or whatever. Make it worthwhile. Number 8. While we're talking about rewards, I also wanted to tackle the end of the mission reward chest that you always get. It's always just, well, whatever the mission on the map says that you're going to get for it. Except the difference between the first chest and the last chest is just more of the same, and not even that much more. So how about instead, with the higher of the rarity chest you get at the end, maybe increase the chances of getting a special item, like some extra V coins, a schematic, a straight up weapon, a survivor, a hero, really anything. Anything like that that would meaningfully and still slowly increase progression without having to completely rely on the llamas. Number 9. The defenders. They're kind of a mess right now, at least in my eyes. Why does there have to be a differentiation between the mission defenders and the defenders you use at your base? Can't that all just be consolidated into one menu with just simply defenders and have, instead of 4 slots each or whatever, just have 6 slots in total for the amount of defenders that you can have on file at any given time? Or more or less depending on the skill tree. And while we're at it, can we make giving the defenders ammo a little bit more easy? Like, for example, when you first give them a gun, maybe it'll automatically have 100 or 200 or 300 rounds depending on the ammo type automatically, like not even out of your pocket. And then once they're out, all you have to do is maybe go over there and press R to refill it automatically from your own ammo stash. And that would really cut out a lot of the micromanaging hassle that comes with using defenders. I mean, it's to the point where I never want to play alone and use defenders because it's always just so much more convenient and doable to play with other people, even if they're randoms. And one last thing about defenders, can we make it so that they don't use much durability on the weapons that you give them, or use 0 durability at all? I feel like ammo's enough, honestly. And finally, number 10, and this is going to be a two-parter. 1, we need to make the game playing itself more cooperative, because right now it's more a competition in terms of looting everything, because when somebody takes down a tree or a wall or a vehicle, yeah, I mean, that's definitely not going to help you, that's just going to help the person. Like, maybe it'll help you because they could theoretically drop you items and stuff, or drop you resources, but I mean, you can't really rely on them to do that. So instead, I feel that resources like that, if you are near them when they are clearing through a bunch of stuff, you should be able to get like a small chunk of it. Not to say that you're taking away from them, you're just also getting some as well. And finally, chests, vaults, safes, all that stuff. Whenever somebody finds one, everybody else on the team needs to be given random items as well. It doesn't have to be the same thing as what the person got when he found it, but finding chests needs to be a team activity, not a solo activity. I've even seen some players, some low-level players, go into high-level matches and ignore the objective, and instead will just run around the map, discover everything, and find all the chests they can, and then either AFK, or leave, or just not be helpful at all in the team fight because they're so low level. But hey, they don't care, they just want the loot. Now, before I end this video, I have one more suggestion, a number 11, if you will, and this is directly to the developers. I know that a lot of the suggestions that both I, as well as many others, are putting out are all about getting loot easier and maybe not focusing so much on the loot llamas. And I also understand that for the developers, the loot llamas are likely a really good source of income for them. So I don't necessarily want to take away from the amount of money that they're going to be getting overall, because hey, that means less content for us, slower developer time, and ultimately the game may be failing if it gets too bad. So what I propose is that you take the kind of cosmetics that you've seen in the differences between the common heroes and the legendary or even mythic heroes, and instead turn them into something that you can sell to us, the players, outside of V-coins and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that you should take away the way that heroes look at different rarities, but instead add on to it and give us more options that we can spend real money on. And in a game like this, anything from serious skins to cool skins that use special effects or auras or like fire on the armor or whatever, to even goofy skins like having my soldier dressed up as a clown or something. I don't know, I'd probably buy it. I just know that that's something successful free-to-play games do, like Path of Exile, and they get tons of money for doing stuff like that, for selling a variety of skins to people that are either tied to events or tied to different stages of game development even, and people eat up that stuff, especially knowing that that skin won't be around longer once that particular stage of development or event or holiday is over. All in all, I hope you all enjoyed my 10/11 tips to the Fortnite community and dev team, and hopefully we will see some of them in-game in the near or distant future. Fortnite is a fun, creative, different game, and I'd love to see it grow, and I know that it can. So I'm going to do what I can on my YouTube channel here to help make that a reality. So if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then you know what buttons to press to make me happy. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.